show you is some of the teachings of the masters of defense. Authentic, actual Renaissance, 15th, 16th century experts who taught the martial arts. The martial arts, there's that word. When you hear the word martial art, you think what? Kung Fu, Jiu-Jitsu, etc. Asian fighting arts. Well, the term martial arts is an English term that comes from the French, which comes from the Latin ars martialis, the arts of Mars, the Roman god of war. And our ancestors in Europe had sophisticated, systematic fighting arts, which they referred to as martial arts. And they wrote detailed technical treatises on extended, illustrated. And they teach these martial arts based on what is known as principles, and have explain the principle of geometric movements. We'll have masters that will invoke Aristotle to explain the principle of the opposites, meaning that you cannot move in a straight line as well as move in a curve, or that you cannot be both near and far at the same time, and other simple principles like that. But these teachings have been lost to the centuries. Their methods were forgotten, they atrophied, and they were abandoned. Why? Because of this. Once we start using reliable, accurate firearms, there's no need for this anymore. People stopped coming to the schools of defense, the Fechtschulen, as they were known in Germany. They stopped learning these methods, and instead, the only people who retain swords are your gentlemen English with powdered wigs saying, "Sir, I demand satisfaction," and developing a very formalized, stylized form of fencing that has very little to do with combat effectiveness on a battlefield or on the street or in a duel. Now, what we're going to show you today is just the scratching the surface, the tip of the iceberg. It's going to be very energetic, very intense, and today we're utilizing these practice swords from CAS Hanwei, the designer of which is right over here. Say hi, Michael. And I believe these are on display in the main exhibition hall. Now, this weapon is known in Italian as a spadalonga, in German as a Langensschwert. It's also called an épée de guerre, a war sword, or in English, a sword of war or a war sword, and also as a long sword. It forms the central basis for much of the teachings and much of the techniques we're going to show you. Vertical. I'm hitting with the back of my sword. The back. See? The back of the sword. Oh, gotcha. The back of the sword again. Back of the sword. Forward, back, back, back. 2/3, actually, 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 of the cuts you do with a long sword, with a European sword, are done with the back of the sword. That's good, I didn't say cut. And if you notice, he's going to rewind that very slowly. I received that blow on the flat of my weapon. The flat, not the edge, the flat. Why? Because that's how the weapon's designed. To take the flex here. This part for hurting, this part for protecting. Throw a cut here. Again, stopping it with my flat, leaving my edge free to slice off his ear, or to go into his face, or cut his hand. Again, hitting the flat of my weapon, leaving it free to stab him here, or to stomp down, or 1,000 other moves. Again, I stop it with the flat of my weapon, I cut him with the back. I'm going to show you a couple basic techniques with the long swords, then we're going to do some free play. Free play is a term that they used in the 16th century to refer to a German word called sparren, which meant playing. And the word sparren is not used to refer to mock fighting until about the 18th century. Yeah. Okay. You see what I just did? He cut first. I cut not after him, not before him. I cut in the instance that he cut. And in the process, my energy hits his on the flat displaces him. They call this concept versetsen. Displaces and cuts him. Of course, I'm stopping it here instead of splitting his skull. Well, I'll show you what happens. I better not. Okay. Well, let's do the same thing again. Just going to go another vertical strike. Now this time, I stop his blow here. His energy stopped dead. It's not breaking through my weapon. But has his energy done anything to prevent the freedom of action of my weapon? Absolutely not. My energy is still going on to take off the top of his skull in a cut known as a Schlierhau. I'm sorry. Zwerkau, thank you. Or a horizontal cut. Okay. Okay. Now here's a cut that you can only do with a double-bladed sword. You can only do it with a sword that has two edges. You can't do this with a saber, a cutlass, a scimitar, a katana. You can't. It's one of the most secret and misunderstood strikes. And it's known simply as a Kruphau, a crooked cut. So I'm catching him in the forearm, displacing his thrust, and preparing to stab him in here. Again, I'm not doing a rising cut. I'm not doing this. Because if I do that, I end here. I end like this. With the back of my sword. What's the first thing you saw? Did I stay off here and sword tag him? Did I try to parry and riposte? Did I try and fake and cut where he's not defending? No, I went straight in on him like a bar fight. This is the method that they teach. This is called Einlaufen, to close in, to seek the bind, the binden, or in Italian, incrociata, the cross, to feel. And from this, to binden, to bind or to redel, the wagon wheel, so that I'm going to strike him in every way I can, or grab and seize him, kick him, punch him, hit him. This is fighting. This is self-defense. It's not sword play. It's not performance. It's not sport. It is brutal, vicious, but elegant, refined, and scientific. Hit me with the tip. Barely felt it, but I know he controlled it. I know it hit there with a good time on target, that it stayed there for a good amount of time, and it continued on, and I know it would have bitten into my muscle and my bone had it been thrown in earnest. In earnest. Hey!